Emmanuel Quickly is...
Ask me one more time.
Emmanuel Quickly is...
A dog.
A dog?
A dog.
How do you mean that?
I'm a dog.
With the fourth pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Toronto Raptors select Scottie Barnes from Florida State University.
Welcome to Pensar Basketball Live. I want to wish everybody who's been following this channel, even if you haven't been following this channel, even if you're hate watching, I want to wish you a happy new year. This is an absolutely beautiful time to be a Raptor fan, and I want to take a moment to just ring in the new year right. Not just for this channel. Brian always talks about closing the year out strong, and I wanted to close the year out strong. We did a bunch of lives. We've done a bunch of lives. And I want to just take some time here to correctly and properly articulate just exactly how we got here, right? Scottie a dog too. Yep. Yay, another live. Absolutely. So I want to talk today about these pieces that the Raptors have been assembling for almost 2 years now, right? A lot of people have had some very strong choice words about the job that Masai, Ujiri, and Bobby Webster have done, the job that Darko Rajakovic has done. Last year, there was a lot of talk about, the Jakob trade, not selling at the deadline, being the laughingstock of the NBA, losing Fred VanVleet for nothing, holding on to assets. Does this core work? Does this core not work? Grady Dick's a bust, right? There's a lot of stuff. And let's be honest. Nobody's been right or wrong or whatever. It feels like a Chewy is trending. That's cool. That's cool. I just want to take you guys back through a little Raptors history. Okay, this is where we started a year ago. We started doing these lives around this time last year. All right, so let's just take a look at what things were said, how things happened. It might be a little bit painful, but because we have arrived at a happy conclusion, then ultimately this is a happy ending, right? We talked a lot about hero ball. We talked about the Scottie criticism. We talked about making a trade at the deadline. What's wrong with the Raptors offense? Is Fred helping Scottie? We evaluated both sides of it. The Raptors can't stop losing. Does the ball move? Sometimes it moved, sometimes it didn't move. The kids being all right, guys like Precious Achiuwa, Christian Koloko, Scottie Barnes. We talked about, the New Year's and everything that the Raptors were doing, Fred not moving the ball enough, gunning for a contract. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about trade packages. We talked about making the trade with the New York Knicks. We talked about picks. We talked about what the Raptors inevitably did, which is Jakob being back. Oh, man. The Raptors must fix 5 things if they're serious about becoming contenders. The not-so-dynamic duo of Scottie Barnes and Pascal Siakam, and why they absolutely occupy all the same spaces. We talked about making a trade for Kristaps Porzingis. We talked about we talked about Jeff Doughton. Is he free? Is he not free? Oh, this was great. This one right here. Scottie Barnes balls out on a new career high, the Lakers versus the Raptors. And of course, it's showtime in the 6. I had made that graphic and I had been waiting to release it for the first game that he showed it. Another Jeff is free. You can tell I was a very, very big Jeff Doughton fan. Stat padding. We talked about, his 2020 selfish assists, rigging assists. And of course, we talked about the draft. this actually, the next coach thing, I think happened before Nick Nurse was fired. Why we should hire Ime Udoka, pick a direction. We talked about prospects. We talked about who the Raptors could potentially get at number 13. We talked about Jordan Hawkins as a one profile. We talked about Cason Wallace. We talked about Jaime Jaquez. We talked about top free agents, who the Raptors should get. Austin Reeves. Geez, look at those three names. Austin Reeves, Grant Williams, and Max Strus. We talked about the 13 options that the Raptors should go with for coaching. Darko Rajakovic was not on that list. It was a funny list. We talked about Jordi Fernandez. I believe we talked about John Mamalalo. Where is that? We talked about have the Raptors lost their minds. I believe there was a Jama one. Was there? There was, wasn't there? Meet the Raptors' next head coach. Where is that? Yes. The Raptors' next coach will be Jama. We talked about, potentially bringing Jama back to Toronto because I thought that he was so good for development. Oh man, did we go? We really talked about a lot of stuff. We had our live reaction to the NBA draft. We had a lot of optimistic stuff. We went through some highs and lows here. I was very happy to be a Raptors fan this offseason. Fred VanVleet being gone, the coach being gone. Did the Raptors make a mistake at 13? Why did they pick Grady Dick, etc.? So you drafted a bust. Oh man, that's I was very anti Grady Dick on draft night, but I quickly came around to it. We talked a lot about Summer League, and then we continued on. And this was a video in which I advocated that we need to trust in Masai, that he gets it. I believe the exact quote was, "Just remember who I am. Masai gets it. He gets it. He gets it." And, we talked about the bench mob. We talked about the Raptors being very deep this year. Man, have I been wrong so far on that. Right? We talked about so many things. We talked about the value of bringing back vets. And we just talked a lot about what's going wrong with this season and what's going right with Scottie Barnes. And ultimately, we talked a lot about Dennis Schroeder, and here we are today. The Toronto Raptors got their dog late night session, which was last night's. Let's close that up, and Chat's wasted, rescheduled alive. That's hilarious. Okay, so I want to talk about how we got here. I want to talk, of course, about what the Raptors are doing with all these pieces and what might go right and what might go wrong. The Toronto Raptors, as currently constructed, have a lot of pieces that suddenly fit. Was it as simple as just getting rid of OG Anunoby? Sure, no, it wasn't about getting rid of OG Anunoby. It was about getting two pieces that fit with Scottie Barnes and potentially a third this offseason with that draft pick, right? Are you talking to me or are you talking to somebody else? Yeah. Okay, cool. Grady's a bust. Don't change your mind now. No. He's not going to be a bust. And Grady is, in fact, one of the first dominoes that fell in this, Scottie experiment, but Christian Koloko was as well. There's a thing, if you are a fan of 90s basketball, early 2000s basketball, you remember that Shaquille O'Neal had a tremendous amount of success with Penny Hardaway, right? But they won no championships. So what did the Lakers do? They got him a much better version of Penny Hardaway, right? The ghost in the room is back. That computer just turns on by itself sometimes. So they got him a much better version of Penny Hardaway. They developed him. They were patient, and then they went to a three-peat, and they probably could have won 5 or 6 championships, but c'est la vie. And then Shaq goes to Miami, and he wins a championship with Dwayne Wade. So the question then becomes, ultimately, did Shaq really need that guard, that type? And ultimately, he won 3 championships with the best version of that guard, didn't he? Kobe Bryant was the best player among himself, Dwayne Wade, and Penny Hardaway. He won 2 championships, 3 championships. Couldn't win with Penny. But they did beat the Chicago Bulls in 96, 95. They were the team to beat them. They went to the finals that year. They lost to Hakeem. So it's worth noting that player types and player archetypes and synergies are very important. And for the first 2 years and 2 months of Scottie's career, he hasn't had a lot of natural fits. Here are two players who fit very naturally with him, but maybe not perfectly. Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. And you notice that, right? When he's playing with them, you notice it. When the other three pieces on the court are just reasonable enough, just the idea of playing with a guy who can shoot like this and, and has that gravity. You remember with Scottie's rookie season when he came out, he and Fred were balling. It was great. Now, Fred had his limitations. He wasn't overly efficient. He wasn't overly shifty. He wasn't overly creative or athletic, but it just worked. Fred was the best point guard that Scottie's ever played with. Fred's the best guard Scottie has ever played with until tomorrow. He finally has a better guard. Gary Trent Jr. is probably the second best guard Scottie's ever played with. These are sad things to admit if you're a Raptors front office, that you drafted such a good player and these are the two best players that you've been able to put around him at the guard position. Well, what happened when Fred VanVleet went and got injured and, we didn't see him for a while and Scottie's running point in his rookie season? Even with all of Scottie's limitations, we saw everything get unlocked. We saw Pascal and himself really get unlocked without Fred because Gary was splashing and Precious was splashing from three and Boucher was doing stuff and Thaddeus Young was a big part of that. But the players I'm talking about are not like high-end super talents. Siakam's the best player overall that he's ever played with. Siakam, Fred. What about him and OG? Sometimes it used to work. If you get those two guys and just like three guys who move in space a little bit, suddenly it would work. Player archetypes are very important, especially when you have an engine. What would happen if you put Nikola Jokic and one of his teammates was Mitchell Robinson? Would everything kind of fall apart if you didn't have the right pieces around Nikola Jokic? Certainly, when you look at the roster around Jokic, there's a lot of thought that's been put into guys like Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. I'll tell you a player who reminds me a lot of guys like Jamal Murray, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, De'Aaron Fox, it's Emmanuel Quickley. He reminds me a lot of those guys. Do you see how much De'Aaron Fox struggled in Sacramento until Domantas Sabonis showed up? Do you see how much Domantas Sabonis struggled in Indiana before he showed up to Sacramento? What was the magic bullet? The perfect fit. Fit has so much to do with fit and opportunity. Look at Tyrese Maxey. This might shock you, actually. But do you know that coming into this season, Emmanuel Quickley was having technically a better career than Tyrese Maxey? Per the analytics. Now it's a slight edge. But if I showed you the side-by-side per 100 numbers for these two players, you're splitting hairs. Really, you're splitting hairs. It's a slight offensive advantage to Tyrese Maxey on volume. It's a massive defensive advantage to Emmanuel Quickley. Quickley is the more high volume three-point shooter. Does that shock you? I think he's the better shooter, period. That might shock you too. Tyrese is the better athlete and the better finisher. But Tyrese Maxey has been playing with Joel Embiid and James Harden. Emmanuel Quickley has been playing with Julius Randle and RJ Barrett and Jalen Brunson. These are not the same types of players. He's been playing under, a guy who's notorious for very uninnovative offense. We're about to see something from Emmanuel Quickley, and I think Knicks fans, who are very upset right now, by the way, they did not want to see him go, because every single Knicks fan that I've talked to today said the same thing. I think we're about to see another De'Aaron Fox. I think we're about to see another Tyrese Maxey. I think we're about to see another Shai Gilgeous-Alexander situation. Was Shai this good when he was in LA? No, not really. Was Tyrese Halliburton this good before he got to Indiana? No, he wasn't even this good last year. But what happened at the start of this year? His coach went up to him and said, I trust you. Go out and do shit. That unlocks everything. Was Steve Nash, our legendary Canadian Steve Nash, was he showing this type of potential in Dallas? I remember watching Steve Nash. Santa Clara, I wasn't a fan, didn't really know much about him at the draft. But man, I watched him in Dallas with him and Dirk and Michael Finley. Firmly thought he was not a very good point guard. Thought he was okay. He was all right. And he shows up to Phoenix and whoa. Did anyone see James Harden doing what he did in Houston when he was at OKC? Could you have seen that coming? Fit matters so much. Opportunity, coaching, system, synergy. How pieces go together matters so much. And it really matters when you have a player like Scottie Barnes that you put pieces around him that make sense for how he wants to play, how he can play in order to optimize the offense. Because at the end of the day, what is the truth about basketball is 5 guys work together and do things on the basketball court for one guy to score. Right? If you have the best screener in the NBA, he might have 0 points at the end of the night, but he made your offense more efficient. If you have the best shooter on the court, if I put Steph Curry on a basketball court and I didn't tell the other team that he wasn't going to shoot all night and he didn't take a single shot all night and he just ran around, he would make you better until teams figured out that he couldn't shoot. But you get my point. When Immanuel Quickley steps on the basketball court, teams register his presence. When Scottie Barnes takes a jump shot now, teams are starting to guard it. Your space has been expanding every single month. You want to play fast with Scottie. You want to play this end-to-end type of basketball because it works to his strengths and because you can actually defend pretty well. And you need certain things for this to work. You need good decision makers, which you really haven't had. You need good athletes, transition athletes, live wire athletes, explosive athletes, guys who can make dynamic shifts and cuts. You need that. You need guys who have good basketball instincts, who are well coached, who really understand the game of basketball and where to be and how to react to shifts in the defense and expose gaps. How many times do you see Scottie Barnes' man turn and he cuts back door? Or how many times have you seen, Scottie's man just kind of sag off and he just pulls up for 3? Does he continue to probe? No, because he has high IQ. And now he has high skill. And the skill is going to continue to get better because he's only 22 years old and he's a very hard worker. You've put players around him that make so much sense over the last 2 years. OG Anunoby made some sense next to him, but the other 3 pieces had to be so specific for this to work because OG had so many holes on offense. He couldn't create off the dribble. He wasn't the most dynamic player. He didn't really have a lot of range in terms of 3-point shooting. He was very relegated to those corners. So he became more of a release valve, like a role player. And clearly, from everything I've heard today, there's so many people it took to make this happen from RJ's side, from OG's side. Ultimately, RJ's happy to be here. OG's happy to be there. We can move on. Immanuel Quickley, he was the prize for the Raptors and ultimately what the Knicks had to give up in order to make this work. I think for years from now, I think Raptors fans are going to look back on this trade and probably call it one of the best trades in Raptors history. Even more so if RJ Barrett becomes unlocked in this offense. And he really could. Think about something that I was thinking about something that I said last year, which was you need to find market inefficiencies, and there just aren't that many market inefficiencies in the NBA. Daryl Morey said that the league works best when 7 teams don't know what they're doing, so that the 23 teams that do know what they're doing can do something. League offices and general managers and teams in general have become more competent. They've become a little bit better than they used to be. The egregious, Vince Carter for Eric Williams, Aaron Williams. This stuff just doesn't happen these days. So how do you find market inefficiencies? Well, you have to find very specific situations. You have to find guys who are buried, who are undervalued by their teams, maybe teams that are desperate. I said this all year. You need to just play this out and find which team is going to oversell themselves on what they think they are. In a league where 22 teams think they have a chance to make the playoffs, in a league where 16 teams believe they can win a round, in a league where 10 teams probably can convince themselves right now that they can win a championship, man, you have plenty of market inefficiencies to exploit if you are the Toronto Raptors, which holds true also for a Pascal Siakam trade to Atlanta, Indiana, whatever. Because right around this time of the year, teams that thought they were going to be good some of them realize they're a little bit better than they thought they might be, and they're going to get desperate to shore it up, like the Raptors did with Thaddeus Young or Jakob Poeltl. In hindsight, those deals were ridiculous. Or they're going to get really desperate because they realize they're not as good as they thought they were going to be, and their season is slipping away, and they're in a market, and they have a star who really wants to go to the playoffs, and they need to get him some help. There you go with your potentially Otto Porter, Thaddeus Young, Chris Boucher trades. Maybe a Gary Trent Jr. trade. But from the Raptors side, it's not just Scottie Barnes anymore. It's not just Scottie and maybe OG. It's Scottie and Emmanuel Quickley and three pieces, I think, that fit them very well. Piece number one is Christian Koloko, the big wild card because of his health. Last year when Christian Koloko was healthy, he was Scottie Barnes' most frequent screen partner. He's an excellent roller. If he gets physically dominant, if he gets physically capable, at least, he and Gradey, to me, the physical training, the strength training needs to come through for these guys. But his defensive instincts, his short roll passing, his decision-making, his IQ is something that I've just harped on for a year now, over a year, right back to the draft. I think he's a very smart player. You need smart players in a read and react, situation like this. You need smart players. You need live wire athletes. Christian Koloko is unusually nimble and fast for a center. It's exactly the type of center who can thrive in a transition offense. Gradey Dick is a transition three-point shooter. Not playing Gradey Dick is almost entirely a defensive issue right now. So because he's getting so burned on defense and he's not able to give enough on offense right now. But once he is able to just hold water on defense, then I think some of the transition three-point shooting and some of the spacing that he needs and some of the cutting and screening that he needs in order to unlock himself completely is going to be available. You know what happens when you get guys like Emmanuel Quickley on your team or a guy like Tyrese Maxey? Everyone else gets way more open. Something I've noticed for a while is that players struggle to shoot here. Yuta Watanabe struggled to shoot here. Svima Heilig struggled to shoot here. Jalen McDaniels struggled to shoot here. These guys don't usually struggle to shoot in other places, but for some reason, it's like a curse for the Raptors that good shooters come here and they forget how to shoot. Or capable three-point shooters who are used to getting great passes into their pocket with plenty of space, plenty of rhythm. Those guys tend to struggle. So sometimes you just have a system which suppresses the value or the perceptive value around the league of the pieces that you have, right? Yuta Watanabe was much better in the Nets. He became a rotation player. Occasionally he started for them. Apparently he was so bad, we didn't want to bring him back on a minimum. Poor Yuta was so insistent on wanting to stay in Toronto. He was so happy to be here that he volunteered to go to the 905 just to stay with the Raptors organization before the Nets signed him. Isn't that sad? And yet also such a testament to right place, right time, right situation, right offense. Consider the Knicks. The Knicks are not a good development team. They've had plenty of high lottery picks. Cam Reddish was a high lottery pick with a lot of potential. He is currently starting for the Lakers. He couldn't buy a second on the Knicks. Kevin Knox, the guy that you saw like locking up Pascal Siakam, splashing threes on the Raptors in that embarrassing loss. That's another Knicks guy who didn't work out. You remember that? He was on the Knicks. He couldn't buy a minute. People said he was the worst player in the league. He just started against us. Obi Toppin was another guy who started on the Knicks. Not started on the Knicks, sorry. He started out on the Knicks, and he couldn't get minutes in either. He was a human victory cigar. He's from New York. And people were like, oh my God, why aren't they playing Obi Toppin more? And now he's starting on the Indiana Pacers. Pacers, Lakers, Pistons, fair enough. 3 guys who couldn't get a second of run in New York. They couldn't crack the rotation for Tom Thibodeau, are now out there doing better elsewhere. Does this make me a little bit more hopeful for RJ Barrett? Hell yes, it does. Faceless man saying Kevin Knox is bad. I agree. I think Knox is bad, but he's not as bad as he was with the Knicks. What I'm trying to say is that RJ Barrett is better than all of those players. He's better than Cam Reddish. Okay, he is. He's a better athlete. He's a better player than Obi Toppin. He's a better player than Kevin Knox. Okay, the Knicks have a type, and it's a type they don't know how to develop, and they haven't been able to develop. The guys who are doing well in New York, Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, they developed elsewhere. They did not develop there. Jalen Brunson, he cut his teeth in Dallas. Dante DiVincenzo, Villanova, then, Golden State. Like, he's been elsewhere, okay? They're importing talent that has worked out elsewhere. Isaiah Hartenstein, Julius Randle. None of these guys are drafted by the Knicks. They brought them in. Should we get credit? The Toronto Raptors get credit for how smart Danny Green was? Nope. Should we get credit for how smart, and how effective Serge Ibaka was? No. Should we get credit for how great Kyle Lowry was? Not really. We unlocked his personality, but his game was unlocked elsewhere. He was coached by Kevin. He was coached in Villanova. He was coached in Memphis. I believe he had Hubie Brown. What a great teacher Hubie Brown was. Then he had, did he have Kevin McHale? I believe he had Kevin McHale as well. So this is the formative years. You need these young guys to get a great development staff around them so they can correct issues in their game. I'm starting to think RJ Barrett might actually have something with Toronto, right? I think so. It could happen. I believe it could happen. When I look at pieces like Grady Dick, even Gary Trent, if he sticks around, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Christian Coloco, these guys fit a player archetype, which is very, very interesting for the way Scottie Barnes wants to play basketball. It's very correct. Motion, fast, transition, movement, space, cutting, shooting, relocation. Emmanuel Quickley is one of the 2 or 3 most efficient. I think he's one of the top 3 most efficient pick and roll ball handlers. He's also a pretty good screener. Do you know what Scottie and Emmanuel Quickley can do together? Have you ever watched the Raptors game and seen Scottie work off of a guy like, Armani Brooks? They had a lot of synergy, right? Do you remember that? Armani Brooks and Scottie Barnes. It was a thing. He would just keep giving Armani Brooks these open looks, and Armani Brooks kept missing them. Scottie liked playing with guys like Svi, Goran Dragic, who else? Joe Wieskamp. He would try to find Wieskamp all the time. There was a game that he played with Grady Dick where he found him open every time. Scottie finds his shooters. You know how much he's going to find Emmanuel Quickley? Is it going to be more or less than Nikola Jokic finds Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray? The first question that JJ Redick asked when he interviewed for the Raptors was, are you going to get some shooters around this guy if you want to do this? So the Raptors decided, and most of us were frustrated because we're looking at this team and we're like, okay, Dennis Schroeder? Jakob Poeltl, where are the shooters, bro? Jalen McDaniels can't buy a bucket right now. Pascal Siakam shooting 20% from three. You're suffocating. You're suffocating a superstar. But you know who else was suffocating a superstar? Or not a superstar, but a star. Tom Thibodeau on his bench with Immanuel Quickley. Immanuel Quickley has a 4.8 value of a replacement. He's 24 years old. His value of a replacement is higher than Dennis Schroeder, who's played 11 seasons in the NBA and has started a lot. IQ hasn't started. He's been a bench guard. And he's thrived. He's not one of those New York Knicks prospects who didn't develop. He didn't care that he wasn't in the right development environment. He developed himself. Do you know what coming to an environment where every ounce of focus is going to be on making him and Scottie and RJ and Christian Koloko and Gradey Dick better players? Do you understand what has happened here? This is the wrong idea. I think RJ will come off the bench. Doug Smith-Burner. I don't think he will. RJ will not get playing time. I'll bet you any amount of money that he will. For better or worse, RJ Barrett has his warts. Knicks fans are so happy they got rid of RJ Barrett. Knicks fans are often wrong. They're very wrong a lot. Okay? They've been wrong a lot. This is the team that booed Kristaps Porzingis, okay? And now Kristaps Porzingis is in the same conference, in the same division, and is probably going to end their playoff hopes at some point, and I will be there for it, and I will love it, okay? This is not a team or a fan base that's right very often, okay? And I just want to give credit to Masai, Ujiri, and Bobby Webster, who've taken a lot of slander, and some of it justifiably so. The Jakob Poeltl trade, the Thaddeus Young trade, missing on some second-round picks. But man, if this was the vision all along, then suddenly it all makes sense. Can you imagine the pace that the Indiana Pacers play with? Can you imagine if they had some defenders? Who is, Miles? Like when you look at a guy like Miles Turner, what if you replaced, an athlete like that and a shooter like that with a Jakob Poeltl? You know how much worse they would be for it? You need pieces that fit. Buddy Hield, Miles Turner fit the way the way Tyrese Halliburton wants to play basketball. So does Ben Mathurin. So does Obi Toppin. You see what happens when you actually synergize a roster? Now, what would happen if they put a plodding big who doesn't run the floor very well on the court there? The whole thing would fall apart. Right? Scottie saying Darko better start IQ. So there was a Raptors Digest video in which, he alluded to the fact that because Masai Ujiri had said spark, that Immanuel Quickley would be a spark for the Raptors, that this would mean that he would naturally come off the bench. If he comes off the bench, the city will riot. Okay? And I'm making sure of it. I know how this media space works. I know, that everyone is going to write the article that they believe is going to sell. And the way to look at this trade, unfortunately, because RJ is, a top 3 pick, Canadian, he plays in the Canadian national team. This is Canada. The article is always going to lean towards RJ for now. When this trade is going to happen, I'll bet you anything. If RJ Barrett and Immanuel Quickley do their press conference tomorrow together, I will bet you dollars to donuts that RJ is going to get more questions. And it's going to seem for a minute that RJ was the bigger acquisition. I promise you he's not. Okay? So will you be upset that he comes off the bench and then it starts? He won't come off the bench. But if that happened, yes, I would be extremely upset. And I don't think it will happen. And that would be very weird. But believe me, long-term, Immanuel Quickley is a starter on this team. Long-term. Even if it doesn't happen for 10 games or 5 games or whatever, eventually it will happen. It has to happen. He wanted to be a starter. You don't trade for a player this good, this young, this good, only to bench him. You don't have any reason not to bench him. If Fred VanVleet was still here, he'd probably be benched. And that would be unfortunate. And I'd be crying every day knowing that I couldn't do anything and that it probably was never going to change. Jason Williams, when's the next game? Tomorrow, my dude. Tomorrow. So in 1 hour and 8 minutes, the clock will hit midnight and we will hit January 1st. January 1st, the Toronto Raptors will play a basketball game. I can't wait. I can't wait to see how this is going to get unlocked. If you want to call in, link is in the description. We do very, very quick call in, 10, 15 minutes. I'm happy to talk to a few people. Nin, are Quickly and RJ playing tomorrow? I believe they are. I believe they will. I'm excited for Scottie and IQ. Sure, man. Absolutely. Here's a link in the description. If you want to call in, you got something to say. I don't know if Coach Mo is watching this or anything like that. Vegan grass. Scottie's still sad. I don't think he is. I think he'll be happy very soon. Look, man, it's not like OG got traded against his wishes. He made this happen. Okay. Sparkling. I go to Raptors games once a year, and I can't believe I'm getting the IQ and Barrett Raps debut game. Haha. Just be very, very, very hopeful that no one fails their physical tomorrow or today or whenever those physicals are happening. But this has already been made into way too big a deal. Emmanuel Quickly's already posted, his welcome package from the Toronto Raptors. He got his jersey. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. And believe me, the conversations are happening right now about, and look, Darko Rajakovic is a guy who likes to play pick and roll. You finally have a guard who can do that. You have a movement shooter in Gradey who will eventually unlock all of this. You don't think about the space as a defense. How do you react to Gradey coming off a pin down with Emmanuel Quickly on one side of the court, Gradey on the other side of the court, Emmanuel Quickly and Scottie Barnes? You got three guys who can splash from above the break. None of these guys are corner shooters. Grady's not a corner shooter. He's also an above the break 3-point shooter. Now you can play almost like a triangular sort of center of the court offense with these three players if Gradey comes to life, right? We got Caden the Canadian. Caden, what's up?
What's up?
How's it going?
Good.
What do you want to talk about?
Maybe the trade,
Which one?
the OG trade.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
I don't think that they should have gave up OG. I think they should have traded Pascal for the pieces that they got.
They didn't want Pascal. They didn't want Pascal.
Pardon?
They didn't want Pascal.
They didn't?
Nope.
Oh. So
yeah, they needed a piece that was going to shore up their defense, who could go out and guard the best player on the other team. They didn't have that. They think that they're contenders. They're trying to, they're trying to make another trade, likely with their first round picks that they didn't give to us, and go all in. I don't know who they're going to give up. Maybe, I don't know. It's going to be Yvonne Fournier and something plus picks, and they want to go and get another player. Maybe it's Zach LaVine. I don't know if they have the contracts to make that work. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's Donovan Mitchell, something like that. So yeah, they needed OG Anunoby. It wasn't going to work. And yeah, the Knicks and the Raptors, they don't have the greatest relationship. So obviously this was an agency deal. The agents made this happen.
I just don't like the thought of Pascal on the team.
Okay. But I mean, do you like the thought of Emmanuel Quickly being on the team?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the only way to get Emmanuel Quickly was to trade one of OG or Scottie. Only way. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, man, any final thoughts?
No, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, I want to wish you a happy new year, man. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for calling in. I believe it's your first time calling in.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Call back anytime. Cheers.
Yeah.
Lane, what up?
Yo, what's up, man?
Not too much. What's going on?
I'm still on cloud 9 from yesterday.
Me too.
After reflecting, I know in the heat of the moment, I was excited. It's going to be extremely sad to see OG gone. I can't even imagine him in another team's colors.
You'll get over it.
But if you, I know, I think I will very quickly.
I have to change my channel art. My channel art. OG and Scottie were my channel art, and Kevin Durant was the other player on my channel art. And because I kept thinking that the trade was going to happen, Pascal for KD, and
right.
Yeah, now I got to change it to Scottie and Emmanuel Quickly, bro.
Shoot, man. I'm just watching Emmanuel Quickly highlights. I've been watching them all day, and it's so beautiful. Like I feel like every time there's a few guys in the league where when I watch the Raptors play them, I'm like, damn, I wish that guy was on our team. Damn, I wish that guy was on our team. Emmanuel Quickly has just always been one of those guys for me where it's like, damn, I wish we had that.
He put
And
up a
now we
triple
do.
double on us. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Did you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy. Like everyone's posting his advanced analytics, his stats, where they think he can be a year, 2 years from now, and I don't even think that's close to where he could possibly be. I mean, I seriously think the sky's the limit for this guy. He's played next to Jalen Brunson's not selfish, but he's played next to one of the most selfish players in the NBA. He's played with a coach that restricts. I mean, he just restricts everybody except from stars, pretty much. And Emmanuel Quickly has broken through that and has shined in the limited action he gets. Like this dude, I have a few friends who are New York Knicks fans. Like there's some games where he'll only get like 18 to 20 minutes for whatever reason, and he shined through that. So I'm in awe imagining what he can be with a longer leash, with more minutes, with really no pressure, more or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
And RJ Barrett's cool. My
I think
fear is
I'm starting to warm up on him a little bit.
yeah,
Not all the way,
my
but a little bit.
my fear is we're gonna kind of get the Delano Banton kind of fans who is just so pure Canada. And as an outsider, obviously, I don't understand it, But as some people may be, they might be more partial towards him because he is from Toronto, he is from Canada, and if they're not feeling he's getting a fair shake, then they're going to try to revolt against it. I saw somewhere.
I think he'll get a fair shake. I think he'll get an opportunity to prove that, he can work or he can't work.
Mhm.
And, Masai is very familiar with his father. The relationships here are very, very deep. And, certain players, they really don't do well in that situation. It's almost
No,
like they
not at
need
all.
the pressure. I think RJ will do better in that situation. This is like, he's basketball royalty. People don't understand that. He really is. Like, he's blue blood, go back to blue blood, go back to blue blood. He's the son of Rowan Barrett. He went to Montverde, was like a #1 recruit, McDonald's All-American, went to Duke, and then went to the Knicks. Bro,
Right.
like, what are we fucking talking about? Everyone knows who this guy is. And in year 3, it was really, really looking like he was about to become a real star. You know what I mean? So talking about him today, like he's a scrub. Like some people, wanna believe like he's not a starter in the NBA. I think he's absolutely a starter in the NBA. You look at the people who start in the NBA. So you got a starter who's 23 years old. That's in itself a very rarefied air. How many starters are 23 years old in the NBA?
An average 18 points a game.
An average 18 to 20 games. Exactly. The
And I
metrics
get
don't look great. The defense the defense has been troubling. But I feel like if I had to give Darko Rajakovic and Jamaal a job, hey, fix Malachi, fix Precious, or fix RJ. I think the easiest job here is to fix RJ. By far.
Exactly. And when I talk to my friends who are Knicks fans, they're like, "Oh, well, good luck with this one." And it's like, well, I don't have the same expectations for him that you do. You drafted him 3rd overall. You expect him to be a prodigy. He was a throw-in to make contracts work for us, right? So if he comes out here and he plays the same he did in New York, he's not going to have the same pressure on his back.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want that. Obviously, I'd like him to be a little bit more efficient, maybe take a step back.
Sure.
Usage wise, kind of fill into a more of a 3-and-D kind of role because he's a hell of a corner shooter when he's on. I mean, you just move the goalposts on the guy and you really start to come around on him a little bit more.
I think it'll help to play more in transition. There are certain players, obviously, like this, where playing in transition and playing with a dynamic ball handler. I just think of the looks that some of these players have gotten, guys like Boucher, Pascal, whatever. I look at some of the opportunities, and I just pluck a player, where I'm looking at an average Raptors set, and I'm looking at Dennis Schroeder, and I'm like, okay, if I replace Dennis Schroeder with De'Aaron Fox here, that's 3 points. Every time that's 3 points, and the defense can't cover it like that. Or if I replace, like Pascal standing in the corner, I'm like, if I replace Pascal there with RJ Barrett, for instance, there's more space. There's slightly more space because he's more respected as a shooter than Pascal Siakam. So I don't know. It's a weird thing, but I think the spacing is going to be automatically better with these two players.
Do you know what his clutch time analytics are? Because I feel like every time I watch him play, or every time he plays us at least, he always has at least one crucial three, one crucial bucket that just either puts the game out of reach or puts them ahead. Like, I feel like he's one of those guys that just shows up late. And I don't know if the analytics will support that, but that's kind of what the eye test shows me when I watch him, is like he's just one of the guys where you don't expect him to make it, and you don't expect it to be him. You expect it to be someone else, and then bam, he's wide open alone in the corner, and it goes in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's bad analysis, but
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have I'm cautiously pessimistic / optimistic about RJ Barrett, but I am the enthusiasm I have for Emmanuel Quickley is it's bordering on insanity right now. I think my entire my Twitter account has basically become an Emmanuel Quickley propaganda account at this point.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyways, man, I want to wish you a happy new year. Thank you so much for all the times you've called in. I really appreciate it. You're an awesome part of this community. I love it when we agree. I love it when we don't agree. It's always love. It's always respectful. Thank you so much, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. You have a great night.
You too. Take care. Spooky Ghost Rider, what's up?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, all the sound is good. So I guess Happy New Year, and I was just curious, what do you think of the Detroit pick? Do you have like any names or positions in mind? Because
guard.
That's like the one topic I haven't seen anyone talk about that.
Guards. Look at guards. Go. I'll make this pretty much homework for the entire community. I would love if this entire community, everyone who calls in, everyone whatever, can just go and identify 10 guards between picks 20 and 35 that look interesting to you, or 7 guards who look interesting between picks 20 and 35 on the mock draft right now. I think you'll find plenty of guys to be pretty excited about. I think at least 4 of them project to be better than Malachi Flynn next year. If that makes you feel any better, I don't know.
We need any depth we can get.
Yeah, so I think you'll get a guard at that position, and I was looking back at the 2020 draft, right? The draft that Quickley was in. I think that draft is worth revisiting, man. Like, just for people to look at who was passed up on and who was there. I'll definitely show it at some point in this live, just how stacked that draft was of guards. I think next year could be similar. Maybe not nearly as spicy at the top, but there might be a Tyrese Halliburton hiding somewhere in there. There might be another Emmanuel Quickley hiding somewhere in there. Yeah. Look at Kentucky players as well. I don't want to specifically cite out any names and say this name, that name yet. It's way too early. But yeah, I think that would be a good place to start. Any more thoughts, man?
I've seen a lot of discourse online, and
sure,
in particularly in, I guess, the private groups I'm in, and I know some, I guess, Nick Nurse apologists that are really sort of down on Darko, and I'm just like, okay, what do I say to them at this point? Do I just throw my hands and say, at this point, I can't help you? Or
I think you say, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. I think that's the best response. I've been thinking a lot, about this. New Year's is a pretty reflective time where we can all evaluate the year we've had, the year we want to have, things we've done that we're maybe proud of, things we've done maybe that we're not so proud of. I've spent a lot of time in the past 12 months debating and arguing with people that are not worth debating and arguing with. That's not to be condescending or rude. It's just simply to say that at some point, a conversation can go no further because there isn't enough common ground to cover the difference. Right? People walk in with an idea that Darko is a bad coach. There's a million reasons they probably think that they're not even aware of, that are impacting their understanding of what is good and what is bad. For instance, a couple more shots go in, he's great. Maybe that would change it. Maybe if he was a different person, like he looked different, he sounded different, he was from a different country, they might feel differently, right? Ime Udoka is very smooth talker, right? Very confident. He can spin things very well. Darko doesn't spin anything. He's not very good at spinning. He's very direct and very honest. I think the players really appreciate that. I think the media appreciates that. I think the fans are somewhat turned off by it. They're not used to it. They're used to Nick Nurse kind of, you know, smugly making jokes and stuff, right? Touching his face and, oh, yup, Dirk, you know? Darko's not like that. He tries to tell the media about the plays that he wanted to run and what guys need to do. And he's trying to give the same message to the media that he's giving to. He's a teacher and he's here to teach. And I think time will tell whether his message gets through. But to the people saying that, you know, this team quit on him or anything like that, no, this team has quit on this franchise. You know, there's a lot of players on this team that just know they're not going to be here. It's not Darko's problem. That's on the front office to move those players out. But it takes two to tango, right? If Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby knew they weren't going to be here to see out the season, it's very difficult to get them invested into going balls out for this team, right? They're not going to see the fruits of the labor at the end of the tunnel, which is why very often front offices are very, very secretive when it comes to telling players that they're on the move. Masai is not. Masai is pretty transparent. He'll tell the player. DeMar knew that he was being shopped the summer that he got traded. He knew that. Kyle Lowry knew, you know, when he was being shopped. This is hard, you know. So yeah. Anyways,
Would
that's
you
what I'll say about
there's an
that.
advantage to being open like that, or would you say there's like a specific advantage that?
Well, I mean, some general managers and presidents are very open with the media. Some are very open with Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams Charania. Interestingly enough, Masai is very closed with the media and very closed with Shams and Woj, but he's very open with the players. He's very open with the agents. And ultimately, I think this fosters trust with the people that matter. And I think hopefully Masai has identified that agents run this league, that if you get on the bad side of Clutch Sports because you did their client wrong, or you get on the bad side of CAA or any one of these agencies or any specific agent or any specific player, that at some point people are going to badmouth you, and it's going to be really bad. It's going to be really bad for business long run. You know, is it going to be impossible? Is it going to be irreparable? No, of course not. You know, everyone thought that the Celtics did Isaiah Thomas dirty, right? Everyone thought that the Raptors did DeMar DeRozan dirty. You know, these rumors came out there, and they hurt. They hurt you. They hurt you when they come out like this. They hurt you. They hurt your reputation with players. You don't want to do too many of these things. People think you are that person. You know. And now DeMar DeRozan can hug Masai Ujiri, so water under the bridge. Hopefully, you know, the bridge has been, you know, repaired. But has Dan Gilbert ever recovered from what he did to LeBron James on his way out? No one has ever forgotten that. No one has ever forgotten him, you know, roasting LeBron like that. The thing is that players always think about, if they can do that to him, they can do that to me. I think that's a natural human response, right? So if you trade Pascal Siakam after telling him he's going to get extended, if you don't offer an extension after promising him he will, then your entire team is going to look at you the next time you say that to them and say, but you lied to Pascal, you wouldn't lie to me. You know what I mean? It's difficult. Even what the Milwaukee Bucks did to Drew Holiday, not telling him that he's being traded and he had to find out. His wife and he both publicly revolted against this, that it was very disrespectful. You don't think that every player now in the Bucks organization realizes that this is what they're going to do to me? I think there's a very, very big advantage to being earnest and good to people. Even if it burns you in the short run, it will always help you in the long run, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, Spooky Ghostwriter, thank you for being such a frequent community member. I wanted to wish you also a very happy New Year.
Mm-hmm. Same to you.
Yep. Wishing
Okay.
you well, man. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. We got Araf, Ghost, Just Dope, and Coach Mo. Okay. Araf, you're going to have to turn on your mic, man.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir. How you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm good.
So, first of all, I guess my initial thoughts were was kind of shook by the trade. You know, I kind of just thought like the way the franchise was going, Masai would just kind of let them walk. But I guess something happened, so that's better than nothing. And I don't know, just I've been in like these last 3 years with Masai's experiment. Like it's so hard for me to wrap around my head that we're getting people under that 6'8", 6'9". You know, that experiment we were trying to run.
Mhm.
It's so hard for me to like grasp that. Like that's part of my mind still saying, oh, why didn't we get like taller players? Can you like, do you have like the same feeling or?
No, not at all. The concept of Vision 6'9" was not initially really said by Masai Ujiri. It's more like, I think it's what other people have said. It's just like information gets twisted, right? Like Dennis Schroeder comes out and says, I'm here for Darko. Now everyone thinks Darko's in love with Dennis, right? Because we put things together without realizing how we put things together that we're putting together. So the Vision 6'9" thing, you draft long, rangy players. You value these players. Why? I mean, didn't they just took back two guys with really long arms? You know that, right? Emmanuel quickly has a 6'9" wingspan. RJ Barrett has a near 7-foot wingspan. I mean, they're still doing the same thing. Christian Koloko is long. Jakob Poeltl is really long. I mean, until they make a trade for Domantas Sabonis or Desmond Bane, not that they can.
Yeah.
I mean, they traded some guys with long arms for other guys with long arms. In fact, the guy with the short arms in the trade was Malachi Flynn. So they got longer with this trade. Okay. Yeah. So they believe in versatility. They believe in switchability. They believe in guys who can play multi-position offensively, defensively. And why shouldn't they? They believe in guys who can guard up a position and guard down a position. Who shouldn't? I think it would be crazy to not prioritize this. And they were right. They banked on guys like OG Anunoby because they knew that other teams would value this player type at some point down the line if it ever panned out. If Precious Achiuwa had panned out the way OG Anunoby had panned out, guess what? Now you have two OGs. But Precious never panned out that way. So now you got to toss him in. I'll give you a fun stat. So I sorted by value of a replacement for the 2020 NBA draft thus far. Okay.
Okay.
Where do you think out of 60 players picked in that draft, Emmanuel Quickly is right now?
Like if you were basically to draft him again, where would he like fall on the?
No, in terms of value of a replacement. So in terms of his value over replacement as a cumulative stat, where do you think he ranks in the 2020 draft? Let me know, chat. Where does he rank from? Like, okay, to give you an idea, number 1 is Tyrese Halliburton. Okay. Yeah. I think number 2 is Anthony Edwards. So yeah. So basically the better you are, probably the higher you rank on this. The more minutes you've played and the better you are, the higher you rank on this. So I'm curious, where do you think he ranks out of?
I want to say maybe like around 5, maybe, I think.
Very good. To come into this year, he was 5, but now Tyrese Maxey's on a tear, so he's 6 now. Okay. Oh. Do you want to take a guess where Malachi Flynn and Precious Achiuwa rank?
Maybe like 50 or 45 or something.
God damn it, you are good, bro. Holy Araf, you are fucking amazing. 46th and 49th, respectively. Oh, wow. Malachi is 46th and Precious was 49th. Unbelievable, man. Like, I wish I had a prize to give you. That's incredible. Abu saying 70th, bro. There's only 60 players in the draft, but good try. It felt like that sometimes. Anyways, Araf, any further thoughts? I just want
to one more thing about like, so now that they've like with getting RJ Barrett, and you know how the current roster still needs a bit more shooting. Do you think they try to shop out Siakam for like a long, forward who can shoot now, to like kind of make up for Barrett coming in, and then you have Poeltl who can shoot as well?
I think they'll swap out Siakam for pieces that fit. Possibly a veteran guard, maybe a young player who can shoot would be great. Rank Scrub saying, would Cat be good for Pascal Siakam trade? I don't see why the Minnesota Timberwolves would do that, to be honest with you. At the other side, I could sort of see why they would do that, but playing Pascal Siakam with Rudy Gobert, bro, like you want to kill your spacing. That's a great way to do it. Karl-Anthony Towns is a very good shooter. high volume 3-point shooter. So weirdly enough, it's like Darko's been asked to come in and develop, Pascal into a shooter and a guy who
Yeah.
cuts off the ball. Why? Because you're exhibiting him for other teams. Because the teams that want to trade for him aren't trying to trade for him as a star. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you see what I mean? Like New York, they're trying to trade for Donovan Mitchell. Why? Because they want him to run the offense. They want to give him the ball. Sacramento is not trying to give Pascal Siakam the ball. They want him to fit in with Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. Atlanta's not trying to give him the ball. They're like, how's he going to play off of Trey? That's the difference, right? So you're trying to exhibit these guys in ways that make sense for the teams they're eventually going to play on. So you're playing Malachi Flynn in a way that maybe a team that would trade for him would try to use him as a backup guard, right? If you bury him on the bench, like I would have wanted us to, or you cut him, you can't get that value. So I totally see it. I'll be very curious to see what they get for Siakam. I think they will trade him though. They'll either
Any
trade him or
chance for like Jalen Johnson or Keegan Murray? That's what I really want, but I don't know how likely it's gonna be.
Both those players are popping off for Atlanta and Sacramento respectively. If he ends up getting those two guys, holy shit. Wow. Jalen Johnson really makes sense. So does Keegan. They both make so much sense. I mean, with this entire concept of this video, Showtime transition offense. I mean, I have a new name for the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Transition Terrors, the TTTs, the T3s. The Raptors are the T3s now. Yeah. Anyways, man, I want to wish you a very happy New Year, and thank you for watching the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers. Okay, next up, Ghost. What up, Ghost? Hello? Hello, and you're gone. Okay, and Coach Mo, you will be our final caller for the day. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Brown Guy. Happy New Year to the whole Pensara basketball fam. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate it. And Rank Scrub, I already answered your thing. And Be Awakening, I did not respond to your $1 super chat. Thank you so much for that as well, sir. Okay, Coach Mo, what up, man? We haven't had a chance to talk about this trade much.
We did. Yeah, not much. One thing that I've heard you say on like your last live or something that really struck a chord with me was just give Emmanuel quickly like 28 million. Enough with this bet on yourself. And we like RJ has his money, Scotty's money's guaranteed.
Yep.
And just give quickly his money and let's just move on.
Yeah.
We had such a toxic culture of people playing for a bag. I think it has to stop, bro.
Yeah.
I think you have to go to Emmanuel quickly and be like, listen, you wanted 25, we'll give you 28 and a guarantee, and you're our lead guard. Just stop all this nonsense.
Yeah.
Like stop it all.
Yeah, he wanted Jalen Brunson money. Jalen got 4 years at so capital gains. Ironically, capital gains, you're underpricing on him, bro. 5 years, 115. It's guaranteed you're not getting him at 5 years, 115, because that's less than 25 million.
Yeah, you're not getting that.
Yeah, you have to pay like 5 years to like 140 or 4 years, 115.
Yeah. So the first thing
yeah.
I want to say is, no, like we're not.
I don't even know for sure though, because like I have to check. So somebody said that he's not eligible for an extension right now, and I was like, I'm going to check this before I do the live, and then I didn't check. So I don't know if he's extension eligible right now. I'm not like super duper familiar with the CBA. Like I'm familiar enough that I know a lot of the rules, but like this hasn't come up for a while for the Raptors. I can't remember when the extension deadline is on his deal.
Yeah, because that it could be one of those October things.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. When was the last time you were excited about a Raptors game, more than this? Since the playoffs? Since the start of the season after we lost to the Sixers, Scottie's second year?
When's the last time
you were excited for a game?
Excited for a game? It's been that long.
I know.
I don't even know.
And that's one of the benefits about this trade. We're excited again.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
It's huge. You want to know the crazy thing? If I do this live before we make this trade, do you know how many people would be in here?
Oh yeah, I know.
Like 112, maybe.
Especially if we lost to the Pistons and we don't have reinforcements coming.
Well, I mean, in fairness, we do pretty well after losses as well. But like, I mean, like, there's no way in hell there'd be 436 people in here on New Year's Eve, you know, at 11:22, talking about the Raptors with deep passion, with callers calling in and lined up. I don't think that was going to happen if Emmanuel Quickley's not on this team.
Yeah.
OG's a hell of a player, man. I like OG a lot. I had not talked about trading him very often last year. In all my trade shows, I always tried to keep him out of it. I always tried my best to keep him out of it. I always tried to keep it Pascal, Fred, you know, somebody else, Boucher, anybody else. But once in a while, I would toss him into a trade, and I would never feel good about it. I'll tell you the truth. 3 to 4 weeks ago, I started feeling okay putting him in trades, and I don't know when it happened or why it happened or how it happened, but it just started to happen.
I think it's because I don't think Masai and Bobby wanted to trade OG, but I think they backed themselves into a corner and they've waited so long that they had no choice anymore.
I don't think that's it. I think he wanted to go. I've heard a lot of people say this. One person who said this to me like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, actually. Hold on, let me check my DMs here. When was it? He said it to me. Hang on, sorry, give me 1 sec here. It was, oh shit, wow, a lot of messages here. It was on, okay, it was on, scroll back.
And the reason I have that logic is because they're not going to get as much for Pascal.
October 24th. Sorry. So, wow. It's been a while. And yeah, so Odin Prime saying, when did he move agents? Exactly. That's when it happened. So he changed agencies, right? And he had this idea. He'd been slowly. Have you noticed that nobody ever says anything negative about OG Anunoby?
Yeah.
He's like protected. It's like God has protected this player himself. It's not God. It's his agency. You know, if you want to shield a player from like negative, like there's always murmurs on the fringes of OG Anunoby, right? Like he can't dribble. His numbers are regressing. If you look at his analytics profile, it does not paint the picture that people believe. The narrative and the analytics are so far apart on him, but no one really talks about it. People don't really mention it. The narrative is that he's the best defender in the league. That's the narrative. That's not the reality of it. I love him. It's not the reality of it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not true. And I'm pretty sure that if I had started to go very anti-OG and started to like do bloopers and low light films of him and whatever, I'm pretty sure with the overwhelming power of Twitter and the internet, I think maybe a channel this focused on it could have changed it. But I didn't want to. I love the guy.
Yeah.
And that's the point. I love the guy. I'll never do that. But me loving the guy and loving what he's about and loving him as a teammate and loving him as a person and thinking he's funny and jovial and a good dude and a hard worker and a great teammate, none of this shit matters on a basketball court when you're down 2 in the playoffs. You know? The narrative on him is so divorced from the reality of OG, right? I have no doubt that he's going to be a good player for New York, but he's been protected, bro. He's been really protected hard here. He's been shielded. He's never been talked about as the problem. Last year, he struggled. There are many times where he struggled massively. He's been injury, concerns. Like,
yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot. There's been times where, he's just ghosted a game where he has like 5 points, 7 points. We don't talk about him the way we talk about Fred, Scottie, and Pascal. Never did, right?
Mm-hmm. And now with what they gave up, and he has those games where he goes 1 for 8 from 3.
Right.
In New York.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted a bigger role. He wanted a bigger role. He wanted the bag. And there was one place where he was going to go where he didn't really want the bag. He would take less if he can go there. And that was New York. He wanted to go to New York, probably because he thinks that he's going to be able to be part of a big three. You know, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, and him. There's not really a clear pecking order there. Maybe, you know, they'll all be kind of like of that same tier secondary star types. There's no Scottie Barnes there, is what I'm saying. You know, I think he could have worked here, man. I think it could have worked here, but his skill set doesn't necessarily translate. His defense, analytically, man, he's always like, there's nothing about his defense that says this is the best defender in the league other than matchup difficulty and positional versatility.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are the analytics that always jump out. He takes the hardest assignment, and he's absolutely the most diverse defender in the league. He can guard ones, he can guard fives. Does he clamp ones? Does he clamp fives? Yeah. Earlier this year, he was. And I was like, holy shit. Remember Anthony Edwards and, you know, these guys, they're having these terrible games. And I was just like, wow.
His defense is going to jump up now that he's been traded, and he kind of knew he was being traded. Like,
yeah. I think he's going to be I think he's going to come out and be
the honeymoon phase is going to be crazy.
The honeymoon Cade,
defensively for OG is going to be crazy.
Yeah. Justin saying Cade over Scottie. Justin, you know, it's funny. The Cade trolls came out so hard when I made that video about, you know, like Detroit not being so bad, and I guess like people have assumed that because the Detroit Pistons beat someone, and they've, you know, the problem is like the Detroit Pistons fan base is like a tortured child right now, right? They've been beaten down so bad that they're just looking forward to just being able to talk shit to somebody. So now, because the Raptors lost to the Pistons, these guys are all coming in like, oh, you're underrating Cade again. Oh my goodness.
The thing I liked about the trade was that the Knicks, I think we won the trade, but the Knicks are happy with the trade because they didn't go all in. Right? They got somebody they wanted, and they didn't go all in. And I think the same thing has to happen with Pascal. If we trade with Indiana, or if we trade with Sacramento, or if we trade with Atlanta, they're not going to go all in. They need to know that we have other assets to make another move, or we're not compromising our future for this, right? Because they only traded a second-round pick, and they traded RJ, who didn't fit. And quickly, like, that was a very strategic trade. So for us to trade Siakam, I feel like if we were to trade with the Hawks, something like Jalen Johnson, AJ Griffin, Hunter, and Mills, no picks for Siakam, I think they can stomach that, because all they gave up was Jalen Johnson. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just we can't suck these teams dry for Siakam. It's not happening. You got to take something of value, and then stuff they're not really using or they don't care for that we can then turn into something. Because Barrett was a contract they didn't like. Hunter's a contract that the Hawks don't like. It has to work something like that.
Yeah. I mean, do you think the Hawks wouldn't give up Jalen Johnson for?
If that's the only thing they would give up, I think they might be. I think they're willing to do it. If that's the only thing that they value that they give up.
But okay, but to make the salaries work, Jalen Johnson makes like $3-4 million a year.
We take Hunter. I did it on the trade machine. It's Hunter, it's
Bogdanovich,
AJ Griffin, Mills, and Johnson for Siakam. It's a 4-for-1, but that's the only way. Unless we take Murray.
You can't do 4-for-1s. You have to waive players. We don't have non-guaranteed contracts.
Okay,
Who are you waiving?
We're waiving Mills.
You still have to waive somebody. If you're doing if you're doing a 4-for-1, right?
I mean, it's tough. The salaries, it's tough. Unless you're taking like Bogdanovich instead of Mills, like.
Yeah. I want to thank Justin the troll for all these super chats that he's doing. Cade is Scotty's father. Thanks, man. Thanks for the super chats. I appreciate it. This month didn't start out so well for us financially. Around the 14th of the month, I was like, whoa, this might be our least financially successful month of the year. And
pushed over the edge. This $3 did it.
Dude, this $3 saved us from poverty right here. If his next one is $1, I'm just gonna snap. He's going down. He's gone from 5 to 3 to 1. but no shade. Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
So, like everybody, I was watching quickly highlights, and when you were talking about the best guard Scotty's ever played with was Fred. It's kind of sad.
It is sad.
I'm watching quickly, and when he has a mismatch, he has a big on him. They're on skates. They are in a death chamber. I was watching a highlight. This was like a year ago or something. Draymond Green is spinning around. He has Draymond Green spinning.
Mm-hmm.
No more Raptors fans. No longer will our lead guard have Vucevic guard him one-on-one. Those days are over.
Agreed.
Those days are over. We're getting to the rim.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Justin, does Cade still go 5 in the redraft? No, he goes 7th. I was feeling very kind to Pistons fans that day. I didn't want to pile on the Pistons fans any more than life was already piling on them because they were having such an abysmal season. So I picked him over Jalen Suggs and Trey Murphy III. If I did the redraft right now, I would pick him after those guys. All right. Yeah, I mean, look, the IQ is dynamic. I've seen him go past defensive player of the year, no problem. Bigs, smalls, floater range. He has issues for sure. He's not a perfect player at the rim, a little bit tough. But I'm curious, man. I'm curious what it would be like not to play with Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson. I mean, too bad he's coming here and playing with Jakob Poeltl. But like, Jakob Poeltl is like weirdly like smart and intelligent about getting out of the way.
Yeah.
And our offense is different. And also like just playing off of Scottie. Like, yesterday we were on this Twitter space and Raps fans, like, I think somebody said, when's the last time Emmanuel quickly played with a passer as good as Scottie? And I said he's never played with a passer as good as Scottie, not in college, not anywhere. And that's the point. Scottie plus, you know what I'm saying, right? Like when you see the two-man game between Scottie and Gary, it just works, right? Mm-hmm. With all of Gary's limitations as a ball handler, passer, he's a worse shooter than Emmanuel quickly. Yep. He's less athletic than Gary. No floater game, nothing. It's still the best that we have, right? So imagine if Gary was more athletic, a way better shooter, way better passer, way better finisher, way better ball handler.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You know what's underrated about this trade too? Another underrated thing about this trade is we actually get better because we've removed Malachi Flynn and Precious Achiuwa, who half the time are playing for the other team. So I think like we've been deprived of talent for so long quickly, and as much as Barrett is a distressed asset or like, a little misused and ill-fitting on the Knicks, he's a really talented player. And I think we're just better because we just have way more talent. And Darko can no longer play Precious and Malachi.
But hey, hold on. Can we please acknowledge the fact that he wasn't playing Precious and Malachi for any other reason than to exhibit them for a trade?
You know what? What do you make of? So I have this theory that this trade was finalized the second Darko said starting lineup change. It's like, oh, it's for sure. So then they sat. That's why I don't think we saw Flynn and Precious getting minutes. Because remember that first game we changed the starting lineup and we're like, why didn't Precious play? Flynn was understandable because now you have actual point guard off the bench in Dennis. But we're like, why isn't Precious playing? I think Darko finally sat Dennis on the bench because theoretically that's what's going to happen when Quickly and Barrett get here. So we might as well start that process now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think the vision of who's starting, who's playing, all this stuff, I think it is being mandated from above. And I think Darko is in cahoots, if you will, or in agreement that these things need to be done. He's a team player, Part of his job interview was to do a mock press conference. He's a team player. They know this job is political. He has to come out and say, Malachi, I just want to see him smile. I want to do whatever.
You're making it seem like he's a puppet.
Bro, it's not a puppet. He's a politician. These are all politicians. You think, okay, the truth is Masai Ujiri has been very disappointed with Pascal Siakam over the last few years, many times. He's had conversations with him many times. Why have we not heard anything about this? Why have we never heard Masai Ujiri come out and say Pascal Siakam needs to be a better leader? Pascal Siakam needs to play defense. Why have we not heard Nick Nurse say that? It's not because they're puppets. It's because they're politicians. It's the same reason the politician doesn't call his voters idiots. He calls the other guy's voters idiots. It's funny thing is, I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday about this thing where I was talking about this live that I did 2 nights ago and the Pistons, or last night. When did the Raptors lose to the Pistons? Was it yesterday? It was yesterday, right?
Saturday at 6.
Oh my God. Okay. Yes. So yesterday at 6. So I was talking to my girlfriend about this and I was like, I lost my mind on this dude. I don't know if you were there, if you listened to it, but like, man, like there was this one guy.
Oh, yeah, him. It's not my job. All that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and this one guy saying, you know, to me that I wasn't being critical of Darko Rakovic because we're from the same country, and it just really annoyed me, you know. And I got upset, and then I started getting pissed off, and I started saying some stuff, and it was just like it was very, yeah. And then I did a late night live last night about Emmanuel quickly being a dog, and I talked about, you know, and I was going like 2 minutes into it, and I showed my girlfriend this morning, and she's like, "Oh, stop that! People love that." And I was like, "People love what?" And she's like, "You're being so authentic there." And I'm like, "But that's who I am." And she's like, "Yeah, you're right." I'm like, so I asked her an honest question. I'm like, "Am I any different with you than I am on these lives?" And she's like, "No, you're not." And that's it. I'm not a good politician.
Yeah.
I'm not a good politician. Everybody oh, geez. Whoa. Are you seeing this?
Yeah, I am. I'm reading it.
Gradey just worked my last shift, took a leave of absence from my high-paying job to take the leap to try and do this YouTube thing full-time. This all happened because 2 summers ago I stumbled on a Pinsari video. Can't thank you enough, brother, and to the Pinsari basketball community. My brothers, you guys can do it too. Man, you... That's very generous of you. Thank you so much,
He just
sir.
left his high-paying job and tossed you $4. Gradey might be tipsy right now for New Year's.
No, I don't think he's tipsy. I think his videos are absolutely booming, and I'm very proud of you, man. I'm very proud of you, brother.
What is his subscriber count at this point?
Probably like 30,000. Do you remember, like less than a year ago, I said follow this channel? It has like 1 subscriber, and I think I was that 1 subscriber. It was like 3 subscribers. That was this channel. And it's become a 30,000 subscriber community plus. It might be over 30,000. Last time I checked, it was at 29.5 or something. And yeah, I'm very proud of you, man. Like the video quality on this channel is amazing. His content game is elite. He's getting so smart about the game of basketball. I am just eternally very, very proud that I've had even 1% to do with your evolution at all, but you know, I think you're doing this on your own right now, man. So yeah, absolutely go over. If you're not following Gradey, if you wanna check out videos about the NBA, videos about Victor Wembanyama, videos about Nikola Jokic, videos about Alperen Şengün. There's so many.
He's at 39.6K subscribers with 19 videos.
My bad. I underrated him by 10,000. My bad.
His last video was a day ago. What did I witness? 228,000 views in one day. It's the video before that, 531,000 8 days ago. Yeah. That's why he quit his job. It's working. Gradey's on a rocket ship.
Gradey is on a rocket ship. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, that's incredible. That's absolutely awesome. You know what? Like I'll tell you something from the bottom.
Video 2 months ago. Whew. First video 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll say one thing. Content creators are often like great inspirations to each other. So one thing I noticed is, how did Will and Jada and Tupac all know each other growing up? Like, how did that happen? There's so many stories like this of guys who grew up together. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. How did they know each other, and how did they both make it? You know, guys who make it know other people who make it, and it helps to have other people who kind of see your vision, see your standards, etc. So I'll tell you something, Goateology, you have inspired me as well. You know, my girlfriend keeps telling me I got to take my content game to the next level. I got to work harder on these videos. And so in February, when Pendants wraps, my goal to myself, January, February, March 1st, is to go from March 1st to January 1st, 2025, and go ham for Pensari basketball. It will still do lives, of course, but we're gonna do Patreon, we're gonna do Spotify, we're gonna do like better quality videos, video essays, better research, more analytics. Yeah, I'm ready to take the next step. I've been just sort of like coasting at this point, right? It's coasting. I'm done coasting. I think I want to take it to the next level. I want to be, I want to fly on a rocket ship too, bro. So yeah, we'll see. But thank you so much for the super chats. Very generous of you, and thank you for being such a huge part of this community as well, bro. I saw you. Yeah. Anyways, whatever. We'll talk off air. But yeah, Coach Mo. Any final words, man? I got to go celebrate New Year's with my girl.
Yeah. Happy New Year. Let's enjoy.
Happy New Year too. And
the new look Raptors.
I can't wait, bro. Tomorrow's post game live. I might just show up drunk. I might do my first drunk post game live. Just be so happy. No, I'm kidding. I don't drink, but for real, I would just be so freaking. I don't need to drink. I'm naturally drunk right now. I'm so happy for this team, and I'm just so happy that we get to start 2024 with a team that I really believe makes sense on the basketball court. You know, with players that make sense. And I hope that, you know, as much as I'm not really a fan of RJ Barrett right now, I hope I become one. I'm rooting for this guy to make it. I really hope he makes it. You know what I mean?
I don't think he can play any worse for us than he did for the Knicks. Being surrounded by Randall and the way Randall plays and playing for Coach Tibbs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Avra saying this over and over and over again isn't going to get my attention. I saw you the first time. Sorry I didn't respond. Please do a live during the game. That's not going to happen. I watch the games with detail and attentiveness. I can't. Like, I hate doing that. I did it. I tried to do it once. I absolutely detested it. Like, I need to focus on the game. I can't be entertaining people and talking about the game while I'm watching the game. At some point, I'll do maybe like a live commentary, but it's just like talking. Like, one of the things I realized is talking for 11 hours is exhausting. I did like 11 hours or 9 to 10 hours of lives in a 24-hour span. And I was just telling my girlfriend, I was like, yo, this is exhausting. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't think I could do that, but yeah. Yeah. I'm just looking forward to tomorrow, man. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. How many points would you think Quickly gets tomorrow? Just let's take an estimate.
I think he scores 22.
22.
I mean, we're so guard deprived. He has to play 30 plus minutes right off the top, right? I mean, who else are you gonna play? Malachi's not there anymore.
I think he might come off the bench to start. I hope people don't panic.
But we will.
But we will. But long term, believe me, Dennis Schroeder is not the starting point guard. He's not here to be a starting point guard. And in fact, a lot of the Dennis Schroeder sets make sense now. The way Dennis Schroeder's been playing on the basketball court makes a lot of sense. He takes a lot of threes. You know, one of the things I love about him Quickly, and I don't know if you wouldn't see this in highlights unless you watch him a lot, he's not a high usage player. He gets off the ball real quick.
He moves off the ball well. He relocates well.
Relocates super well. There's so many good things about this dude, man. Like, the more I learn, the more I like, the more I study.
The dribble handoff game he does with Scottie does with Gary is just going to be so much better with Quickly. So much better.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I think it's going to be dynamic, and it's going to be very hard to stop. And yo, it would have been hard to stop before Scottie learned how to shoot. It would have been super hard to stop. Imagine Emmanuel Quickly and Scottie rookie season. That would have been hard to stop because Fred and Scottie was hard to stop in Scottie's rookie year, right? He was just getting downhill, putting shots. But now, when Scottie can do a little dribble ISO pull up, and Scottie can, do short roll shit, like you're really getting a little miniature Steph and Draymond, except if Draymond was also capable of splashing threes. You know what I mean?
My last question: what's the closing lineup?
I don't know, but I have a feeling Dennis Schroeder will be on the floor.
Oh, I know Dennis will be on the court for sure. The only guarantees we have right now are Dennis and Scottie will be in the closing lineup, and I'm hopefully quickly.
Yo, I'm dead. Zigsaw puzzle with my quote of the night: 81 from IQ. Oh, I would be so happy. I would be so happy. Alfred Wong, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, sir. To this entire chat, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on New Year's Eve. It's 13 minutes to the ball drop. Please go, if you have a family, if you have friends, whatever, please return to them, put me off or whatever. I'm definitely going to go and, celebrate New Year's. We're not doing anything. I don't know what people are doing for New Year's. We're not really doing anything. We're supposed to do something. We just
it's not the safest time of the year to be outside. But
why?
I mean, it's New Year's. New Year's fireworks are the best disguise. I know this growing up. It's the best disguise for shooting guns. It's the best time because you hear boop, 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 boop. You can't hear the gunshots.
That's true. Oscar Grant. Oscar Grant was New Year's, right? I think he was. Shit. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I remember that. I remember that growing up, but I don't I'm not bragging, but I don't live in like a super unsafe neighborhood now. So
neither do I. I don't live there anymore. I don't live there.
Thank God. Yeah, me too. But you're right. New Year's was crazy times when I was growing up for sure. But yeah. Anyways, to everyone, if you're drinking tonight, please don't drive. Please be healthy. I wish everybody a very blessed Happy New Year. Coach Mo, thanks a lot for calling in, man. When you don't call in, people are like, "Where's Coach Mo?" I know. So they get upset. So thanks a lot for calling in. Thanks for being part of this community, and I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, pizza party in 2024.
Oh, bro, Darko's gonna go broke, bro. pizza party on 3. All right, man. Take care.
Later.
See ya. To everyone who has made this channel what it is, to you who have come in on these lives, to you who have dealt with me going through my various anxiety attacks, panic attacks, ups and downs, whatever, hopefully we've grown together. And, we've certainly gone through a lot of ups and downs as Raptor fans together, but I'm really, really praying, hoping that this is where it churns, that this is where all the spacing that you've required, all the dynamicism, all the talent has just come in this trade. And I hope it will continue. I hope that Pascal is the next to go. I really do. There's nothing about him. There's nothing personal. It's nothing. It's just, hey, you have a 22-year-old superstar in Scottie Barnes. Yes, I said superstar, and you can say cap on that. And especially if you think Cade's better, you must be calling cap on that. But I call him a star superstar, okay? You have Scottie Barnes, 22. You have Gradey Dick, 20. Christian Coloco, 22, 23. Emmanuel Quickly, 24. RJ Barrett, 23. Hey, congratulations. You have a young core again, okay? Now, add to it, build on it, and now we're not talking about whether or not Malachi Flynn can become a third-string guard. That's New York's problem. We're not talking about whether Precious Achiuwa may or may not have 16 brain farts this game. That's Precious Achiuwa's problem. And that's the New York Knicks problem. I wish the New York Knicks well with OG and Precious. I do think both these players can be very good. And I hope they are very good for the Knicks. I hope they're good for them because they're both in contract years. And I hope that they get paid. And I hope they get paid well. I want these guys to do well. I want them to do well because I'm not worried about whether or not the Raptors are going to do well. The Raptors are going to do beautifully with Emmanuel Quickly. If RJ Barrett and that second-round pick turn into anything of substantial value, this will become one of the greatest trades in Raptors history. I'm convinced And I can't wait to see it all come together tomorrow. See y'all after the game tomorrow. I will be there. First live of 2024. As I said, be safe, be blessed, be with your families for sure. Thank you to everyone who's made this community, made this channel possible. Thank you to the callers. Thank you to the commenters. Thank you to the people who dropped the likes. Thank you to the people who share these videos on Twitter. Thank you to the people who defend me on Reddit because I don't have a Reddit account. Thank you to the people who super chat these videos and all of that stuff. And thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys so much, man. It's been an awesome year. We built the most watched post-game show on the internet for the Raptors. That's no small accomplishment, but let's not rest on our laurels. Let us continue to make it better. Let's do some amazing stuff in 2024, man. Peace, guys. Have a happy new year. Enjoy. Thank you. Good call. Gary Trent Jr. is also 24. Yes, he is. Okay, enjoy your time with your families. Don't be deadbeats. And you can go back to your phone and your Emmanuel Quickly highlights as soon as the clock strikes 12 and you kiss your significant other. All right.